I love AI art. Tom Scott made a video called I Tried Using AI. It scared me. I'm confused as to why it would scare him. ChatGPT is incredible. Stable Diffusion and Midjourney are phenomenal and will be industry changing. I am interested to find out why Tom Scott is scared of AI. Okie dokie. We like the video. We say go subscribe to Tom Scott, and we play the video.
All I wanted to do was fix my email. I did not expect to have a minor existential crisis about how much the world is about to change. Normally, this is the sort of...
Whoa, what did he just say? This video contains no AI-generated content except where noted. Okay. Don't know why.
Normally, this is the sort of talk that I'd have given on stage at some conference about the future of the web, but I'm in New Zealand right now, and I also have this vague suspicion that those conferences might not be relevant for too much longer. I was lucky enough to live through the mass adoption of the internet. For anyone younger than about 25 watching this, you won't remember just how fast and how incredible that transformation was. And I was on the cutting edge of it. I was living it. I was one of the people who understood what was going on. Useful new technologies generally follow a sigmoid curve. You have a slow takeoff as the technology is invented and the major pain points get sorted out, and then you have
this is kind of, what's the I can never remember the name of it. Isn't it called the something theory, where computers are going to get really powerful really fast, and at some point we're going to stagnate for ages, and the reason is that we have to get over the hump of quantum computing, which... Is it quantum computing or something else? Basically, where rather than building our chips sideways, we've got to be able to build them vertically. I could be completely wrong here. That's just off the top of my head. I can't remember. If you know what it's called, tell me. I can't for the life of me remember.
Incredible explosion of growth as people find it useful, and the technology gets better and better and better and better, and loads of competitors enter the market, and people find more and more and more and more and more real-world practical uses for it. And there's this massive race to make newer, better, bigger things that people keep making more stuff with. And then you reach the limit of what's possible with that technology, and the rate of progress flattens out again.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a reason very few people camp outside Apple stores for the new iPhone anymore. I remember Napster from back in...
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I would argue that iPhones didn't really get that much better from iPhone 3 to 4, 4 to 5. The jumps weren't that big. Yes, currently the next fastest phone isn't like to the point where you need to have it, but I think it was more of a popularity thing. I get the point he's making. I'm talking semantics.
1999. And in hindsight, I think Napster was the first big sign of just how many industries were going to be changed or completely destroyed by the internet. Not just the music industry, but travel agents, video rental stores, encyclopedias, shopping malls, big box stores, the postal service, journalism, the entire media industry. Napster wasn't the first sign, but it was the first major one that millions of non-technical people were using by choice. The first one to get big mass media attention and legal problems.
I think it's important that we note that the reason Napster was so popular was not only because, you know, it made access to all this music and all this stuff easy. It also was because it was free, and because the price of CDs, etc. was ridiculous at the time. £12 or £10, whatever it was, £7 for a CD to have 12 songs was ridiculous. And we have fixed that now with Spotify, with YouTube Music, etc. Now you can have as much music as you want at a price that's actually affordable. And as such, you know, pirating music has died off. It wasn't just because it made it easy. It was because it was also, I would argue, for a vast majority of people, music was unaffordable unless you had the radio.
It was the first big popular disruption, the first warning shot, the first rumble of thunder off in the distance that said the storm was approaching, that everything was about to change. I don't think many people realised that at the time, and even if they did, they couldn't have predicted the world that would follow, the world that I grew up in, the world that I've got really comfortable with, the world of the web, of social media, of smartphones. This video you're watching now is a very early 2023 video and a very English-speaking one.
I have a really strong feeling that he put that disclaimer at the beginning of the video to make you think that nothing in this video is AI generated, and at some point it's going to come out that he actually is, everything is AI generated, or the script is, or something. I got a feeling he's going to pull a little rug pull on us.
In time and space, and I might be wrong about this. I don't know where technology is going to go from here, but I think that world, my world, the one I grew up in, is about to change radically. I think we're on a new sigmoid curve, and I have no idea how far along that curve we are right now. And I don't know if I want to change with it, but I think I'll have to. And all I was trying to do was fix my email. This is a really specific problem, but it really annoyed me, and I have to explain it for the rest of this to make sense, so bear with me. Almost every email system has the idea of folders. You have one copy of an email, and once you're done with it, you file it in a folder like a piece of paper in a filing cabinet, because that's the mid-20th century physical analogy that the inventors went with. But in 2004, Google launched Gmail, which threw all that out in favour of labels. Email is just in one big pile, you search to find stuff, and you add labels to help you sort it.
I hate the current email system. I delete every single email after I read it now because I hate the whole thing.
I hate labels because I like the analogy of folders. That's what I started out with, that's what I was already using. I didn't want to change for no reason, but everything else about Gmail was so much better than any of the alternatives at the time that I moved over to it a couple of years later. And I decided, fine, I will just treat labels like folders. I'll change my workflow as little as possible. Each thread gets one label. That's like putting it into a folder, which meant that when I backed up my emails, which I do, never trust having only one copy of something, particularly if that copy's up in the cloud, but when I did that, I could use a regular old-school desktop email program like Microsoft Outlook to make that backup. You can use programs like that with Gmail accounts. They talk to each other. If they didn't.
He is waffling on a lot, and I kind of just want to know what it is that has freaked him out.
Stuff like the default mail app on iPhones wouldn't work, and people would complain. But those old-school programs don't understand labels. So Gmail just lies and says they're folders.
Okay, if we fast forward a minute, I don't think we'll miss anything.
Go back and forth and add to that thread.
I was right.
None of the other messages there get a label unless you explicitly untag and retag the whole thread, which means more than 800,000 unlabeled messages weren't in my backup. I grew up fixing things with code, so obviously
I'm so glad there are chapters.
That's where my brain went. Google has a service called AppsScript. It means that anyone can write simple code to easily change and automate things in Gmail, Calendar, Docs, YouTube, whatever. It's a brilliant service. I have no idea how it ever got made, and it will inevitably one day be shut down with very little warning because that's just what Google does. But AppsScript meant that to fix this problem, I could just...
Although to give Google credit, when they shut down Stadia, they did give everyone full refunds for everything they bought, which is incredible. So props for that, but they do shut down everything.
Spend an hour or so writing a bit of code, and it's been a while since I've done that. First thing I do when I'm coding something that's simple like that is I write out what it's meant to do in plain English, just the flow of logic, so I can then use that as a guide. So I wrote...
And that's the benefit of AI. I could shorten this whole video to here, but I am interested to hear more about his thoughts and his fears over AI, because I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings about AI. But the beauty of AI is that that initial thing that he writes out, that initial idea, that's all you need to write to an AI most of the time, and then you're just refining what it's doing after you make sure it's right. I've done some coding using ChatGPT. It was difficult, it got things wrong, but it works. It means that if you have an idea, there's something you want to code, if it's got the information, yeah, it can help you do it with, you know, more or less no experience. You just have to basically understand what it is you're doing. And if you don't, you can ask the AI to explain what it's doing while it's doing it, which is the really crazy part. It's not just that, for example, ChatGPT, it's not just that it can, where the hell was I going? It's not just that it can do what you ask it. It can teach you and explain to you what it's doing while you're doing it. And why is that so important? For example, if you are, let's say, following a tutorial on how to fix, I don't know, your kitchen sink, it's leaking underneath, and you get ChatGPT to explain how to fix your sink, and you undo this thing, you undo that thing, you put that back in place, and it breaks again 6 months later. You've got no idea why. The beautiful thing of ChatGPT, unlike most YouTube videos, which are tutorials that explain how to fix something, and they'll say, okay, basically what you need to do is replace this, and then that's you done, which ChatGPT can do. It can also explain exactly what it is, that it's like why it's doing it and why you're doing that. So for example, if your sink broke and then 6 months later it broke again, you wouldn't know why if you watched a YouTube video. But if ChatGPT told you why, and it was because you'd been putting, for example, this part often breaks when oil is poured into it. And you go, oh, I've been pouring olive oil down the sink after I'm done cooking, rather than exposing of it the way you're supposed to. Now you know why your sink broke, and you can avoid, like, it's the idea, or what AI can do for people's ability to not just do things, but also learn is incredible.
That down, and I thought, hang on, isn't there an AI thing that's meant to do this now? Yes, this is a video partly about ChatGPT, but I promise I'm not going to go into the details there. Telling someone about your fascinating AI conversation is like telling someone about your dreams. They don't care. It just sounds like
You're wrong. I care. I care, Tom Scott. I care.
Hallucinating nonsense. But I had seen posts from people being freaked out about just how good ChatGPT is, and intellectually, yeah, I looked at it and I agreed with them. It seemed surprisingly good. But it is just a text transformer. All it does is guess what the next word in the phrase is. I knew we'd been seeing some improvements in that lately. I made a video 2 years ago.
That is true. A lot of people don't understand that. If you don't understand how ChatGPT works or what it is, it's not an artificial intelligence that understands what you're saying and then responds to you. It is a language model, which means if I wrote out the sentence, I've seen this episode, or I've already seen this episode, or I've already seen this, or I've seen that, right? It's got a bunch of different understandings of the exact same meaning. So when I type, if I were, for example, to type, have you seen episode 23, it will understand that I understand what he means because I know every single variation of that question. And now I know how to arrange the words and letters to respond to that. It's not artificial intelligence. It's not understanding what you've said. It just knows what the words in response to the words that you've said have to be. If that makes, it's difficult. I think I'm explaining that right. Hopefully I am. Yeah.
About the sentences computers can't understand, but humans can. And at the end of that video, I made a joke about how computers with language skills are 10 years away, just as they have been for the last 40 years. I was wrong. Turns out that's pretty much solved now. But ChatGPT is still just a thing that predicts what the next word is going to be. It produces generic milquetoast output that's confidently wrong about a lot of things. It's going to help spammers and maybe have a little bit of real world use.
That Microsoft held, no, was it Microsoft? No, it was Google. Google held a press conference, I think it was last week, showing off their AI language model. And they asked it a question, and it responded with the wrong answer. But because it's an AI, it doesn't understand that, well, if you aren't really sure, you shouldn't say it as fact, but it responds as fact. And ChatGPT does the same thing. But when Google's AI did this on the main stage, the company's stock, this specific AI company's stock, lost millions in value because it got one of the answers wrong, which makes it seem like it's not ready, which means that, well, Microsoft's going to beat them because Microsoft owns the company that makes ChatGPT, which is why it's in Bing. But how hilarious is that?
Right.
Losing millions for getting a question
let's put
wrong.
the text description in, tell it to translate this into this obscure Google Apps script, see what it does.
And it wrote the code for me.
Hold on. It
gives you a run test that gives you feedback instead of just doing the run test and you needing the knowledge beforehand to know what the problem is with the results. Yes!
2 seconds, and I felt this pit of the stomach, existential horror, and at that moment I couldn't explain why, but I figured it out later. It's just predicting the next word.
Yes.
The code it gave back was a bit wrong, but frankly, my first attempt would have been a bit wrong. So I asked it in plain English to fix a couple of the errors.
The reason it would have been wrong is that it's pulling from information that's wrong. So if you ask, and this has happened to me, if you ask ChatGPT to code something from you, and the information pool it's pulling from is, for example, a Reddit thread where someone posted this as the answer, and ChatGPT has been fed that information, and the information it was fed was wrong, it's going to think that was right and give you the information as if it was right when it doesn't work.
Had spotted, and it did, and that version was
because it is trained on the internet. Well, up to a certain point.
Nearly right. Not quite, though. It used a really strange approach. I tried to work out why it had done that, and then I realised I could just ask. And it told me, in English, why it had done that. And it had made the same mistake I did with my backup. Because turns out Google's documentation is wrong. Google Apps Script itself treats labels as attaching to threads, not messages. Google wrote their own programming language wrong. So I told ChatGPT about the error, and it fixed the script. It bodged its way around Google's bad documentation to build the thing I was actually asking for. And after all the back and forths, I didn't actually save much time, but it was so much easier. I never had to pore through documentation to find the exact specific magical incantation that I needed. Also, my coding skills are years out of date. That's one of the reasons I don't make computer science videos anymore. The last time I learned a new thing in code was probably 2015. My old skills were good enough, I didn't want to change my workflow. I'm not sure if...
I had a similar I had a similar experience to Tom Scott where it gave me information on coding. I used that code and the code didn't work, but all I would do is then just say, that didn't work, instead this happened. And then it went, oh, if that happened, then this is why it was wrong, try doing this instead. Tried that, half of it worked, and I said, well, that did this and this, but it didn't do this. Please reference the code that I initially gave you again, add the code that you just gave me to make half of it work, and then figure out what's wrong and fix it for me. And it did. It's incredible what it can do.
GPT is a better coder than I am, but it felt about equal. It felt like watching while someone wrote code with me, occasionally chiming in and going, I think you might have made a mistake there. And sometimes I was the one who made the mistake. At one point, I realised I'd written the wrong thing in that first text description. ChatGPT had just been following my wrong instructions. I know, it's just a text model that predicts what word comes next, but it didn't feel like it.
That's one of the things that that you do have to be careful with. How you word yourself. If you're not speaking in clear, plain English and not being super descriptive, then it will make mistakes. For example, when what was it I was trying to do? To invoke AI. I wanted to launch that, but I wanted it to, when it launches, enter option 2 immediately, and then after a 10-second break, or 12-second break, which is how long it takes for invoke AI to load up, I wanted it to automatically open the web address that opens the web interface for invoke AI. But I wasn't clear on that. All I said is change this what did I write? I wrote change this code so that it enters the letter 2 immediately and then launches this web address in 10 seconds. But I didn't explain exactly why I wanted it to do that. So I spent half an hour sitting there with it not making the code that I wanted. And at one point I said, that didn't work. I wanted to do this. And it said, oh, I didn't understand that that's what you were trying to do. Try this code instead. Worked. It was amazing.
So
when I launched Invoke AI earlier on stream, the reason that you didn't see it just auto launch is because that was for 2.2.5. I've got a brand new install, 2.3.0, which is why it didn't do that.
First, I thought that pit of the stomach, existential dread feeling was because my brain had gone, that's a human, or that's an alien intelligence. Or because I was starting to think, well, what if my brain is just a transformer system that's trying to predict what the next word is? I'm sure I remember some old pop science article about how your brain's a prediction engine, and surprise is just a fancy word for being wrong about what comes next. But then the next day, I gave ChatGPT a more difficult problem, one that required not just translating English to code, but actually a little bit of a logical leap, and it just confidently, completely failed in multiple obvious ways. And that meant that I wasn't worried about it coming from my job, Not yet, anyway. Sure, no one's asked for that exact problem to be solved before, the one about the labels and messages. ChatGPT wasn't just copying and pasting from somewhere, there was arguably creativity involved. But if I'm honest, a lot of the programming I used to do was just copying and pasting bits from somewhere. At some point, every modern programmer searched on Google or Stack Overflow and adapted something that someone else wrote. It's basically part of the job at this point. I'm deliberately avoiding the argument about creativity, AI art, and copyright, by the way. I don't know how I feel about it, and I don't know how the courts will resolve it. If I hired a human artist or musician to create a painting or song in a more famous artist's style, that would be weird, but it would be legal, as long as they're not pretending to be the famous artist, as long as the smaller artist is not trading on their name. That's fine. The style of most of my videos on this channel is just a slightly faster version of the TV shows I watched growing up. That's what this intelligence was trained on.
That's where copyright gets really difficult, though, because everyone is really just doing an iteration of what someone else has done. I was talking to my uncle the other day, and we were or a month ago, and we were talking about photography and AI art. Now, my uncle, he's a photographer. He's absolutely phenomenal at it, right? He enters competitions, he does really well. And he uses, I think he uses an AI program, a couple. He'll use like Topaz Labs' Gigapixel, Sharpen, Denoise, stuff like that. And what those programs do, if you've never, I'll show you actually. I'll show you exactly what they do. So if we were to take, for example, let's go to here and let's take a small older image that kind of looks mediocre. Let's go for this one, right? So this image, as you can see here, is 512 by 512, and this is Topaz Labs Gigapixel, right? What it'll do is I can go up here and I can tell it that I want this. Oh, it can only upscale it. Okay. So the original resolution of this is 512 by 512. And I'm going to take this up to 3840 by 3840, which is 7.5 times higher quality, right? And what I can do, let's do automatic settings. And if we scroll in, you can see that it's taken that and turned it into that on the right. So it's an AI program that takes, you can have it do it based on art and CG, high quality. You can do all the settings yourself, but you can see in real time what it's changing and what it's doing, right? So as a photographer, using this kind of stuff is fine. But were you to take, for example, use a program like Midjourney or Stable Diffusion to make the photo that you have in your head. So let's say, for example, you live in the UK and you wanted to take a picture of the pyramids yourself. It's going to cost you thousands to fly over there, take the photo, stay in a hotel, fly back, etc. If you know the exact camera, the exact lens, the aperture that you want, whatever the shutter count, the time of day, the angle that you want, the location of what you want. If you want it to be nighttime and you want the stars to be out, you want a shooting star to be there. If you can accurately describe it, and if the model or the AI art program that you're using can actually do what you're asking. So for example, the AI model has to be trained on using a Canon camera. It has to know what a Canon D3200's photos look like in order to replicate them. And it has to know what the aperture will look like, what this lens will look like. If it's not trained on that, it can't replicate it. But if you know everything that you want, you just can't pay to fly there, then really what is the difference between taking that photo and putting in the text to generate it? Well, the difference is, of course, that you actually did it and had the patience and waited and bought the equipment, spent thousands on the camera, thousands on the lens, flew there and did it. And I had this conversation with him and it was dead interesting. I think what we ended up kind of... if I remember correctly, the end of the conversation ended with the difference is the same difference between an architect and a builder, or between you painting your own living room and having someone else to come in to paint it. If you know exactly how you want your living room painted, let's say you want the bottom half white and you want a nice like mauve, like a nice purple strip going around the top, and then white again above that. And you want to paint little images on the wall, etc. You know exactly what you want, but you hired someone else to paint it. Did you paint your wall? That's, for me, I know other people go, no, you didn't paint your wall. You came up with the idea. But for me, I see creativity differently. I see creativity as if you come up with the idea, you created it. Someone else just built it, and creating and building are different. To me, I know to most people, I think most people wouldn't agree with me in saying that, well, if I designed a building and the builder built it, I would still say the architect built the building. How do I put it? In my brain, if anyone can do something, how do I put it? If anyone can do something, all you are is the person that spends their time for money. How do I explain that? If I design a building and I get someone else to build it, that person traded time for money to make what I wanted, but I'm the one that designed it and built it. Kind of. You know, it's difficult to explain. It's why this copyright thing with AI is going to be so difficult to solve. There's only two ways it goes, I think. Either companies pop up, and this will be a multi-billion-dollar industry, multi-trillion-dollar industry, where companies pop up and you can submit X amount of things. So if I'm an artist, I can submit 100 works of art, and then they take that art, they turn it into an AI model, and you can buy that AI model and merge it with any other models you want. So if you are Studio Ghibli, you can take all of your movies, every frame from every movie you've ever made, turn it into an AI model, and then sell it to people. And people can use that model to generate art in your style. Or you have to completely do away with copyright. Because ultimately, it's going to be so difficult to chase anyone down for copyright infringement unless you're chasing them down for commercial copyright infringement. It's going to be so difficult to chase that at some point either the copyright system breaks and people can make what they want, and we recognize that creativity is entirely different than copying, or you commercialize it. Being that the vast majority of the planet is, what's the word? I can't remember the word. Not socialist, the opposite of that. Not democratic. What's the word I'm looking for? Capitalist. Being that the vast majority of the planet is capitalist, I personally see this going in the way of people licensing their models. But when it comes to, you know, movies and all that, and it's going to put so many people out of business, see if I could just, for example, buy an AI video model based off Weta Workshops, the people that did the animation and the special effects for stuff like Infinity War. If I can just buy a package that replicates the type of effects that they make in a movie, and then they just fire everyone that works for them and they use their AI model and a couple of coders to tune things to make it look better. Dude, what a crazy future when no one has a job anymore. Have you got, oh my God, I love AI so much. I really do. And Breatharius, I understand what you're saying where you're like, you'd get mad if someone could use an AI to generate the things that you want. But yeah, there is a level of understanding that you still have to have. So really, you should think of programs like ChatGPT as a assistant to what you're doing. Rather than having to type everything out, you tell it what you want, it types it out, you check it for errors, and then it goes. You're still the architect, but now you have a worker bee that can do the things you want, and then you double check it for errors. That is the way to a much easier future for a lot of people. And then the second that we get robots out there, dude, and the robots are the ones that are able to mine for the materials and dig through things and build the buildings, the world's going to really change for the better, because no one's going to need a job. You're going to get a job because you want to. Because as the same way with the beginning of the pandemic, everyone loved the first few months. Yay, no work, yeah! And then 6 months in, half the planet was losing their goddamn minds. I just want to work, I'm so bored! People want to work and do something, but they shouldn't have to work and do something. There's a massive difference there. The architect has a signature on the building, but the construction workers who actually built it put their skill into building it. Never even be given a second thought. They don't get a call back for an extension on the building. The architect does. Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. That's exactly what it is. But I would say that anyone can lay bricks. You know, not anyone has the creativity to design a building. That's the thing that I think when it comes to these copyright cases and this AI art and ChatGPT, that's the thing that really needs to be emphasized when people are talking about this. Creativity is not something that can be taught. Full stop. It's not. It's just not. Walk down the street, take 100 people and try to teach them how to be creative in any way. Build me an interesting piece of furniture. You put them through college for 4 years, they learn how to make stuff, and at the end of it, they keep making the same boring square chair because they've got no creativity. It's not something that can be taught. It's just not. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that you are born with. It's the way, as far as I am concerned, and I could be wrong, it's the way that, you know, your brain communicates, the way that your neurons fire at each other, the way that you're brought up, the puzzles that you did while growing up to develop your brain, how much you paid attention in, for example, math class, where learning math while growing up and all that useless stuff, you don't learn it because it's useful. No one explains that to you when you're a kid. The teachers don't know that's why you're learning math. No, if the teacher's response when you were a kid, and I'm going to play the video in a minute. Teacher's response when you were a kid to why do I have to learn how to do this? A calculator can do this. The response was, well, you're not always going to have a calculator with you. We do have a calculator. But I used to sit there thinking I could carry a calculator with me. That's not that big a deal. No one ever told me the real reason you learn math when you're a kid. The reason you learn it is that it's the same as working out, but for your brain. And the more you do while you're growing, the stronger your brain will be over the course of your life. The better you'll be able to solve puzzles. That's what math is, working out for your brain. That's what it is. I think that's the best way of describing it. If you grow up playing strategy games, you're going to be great at strategy throughout your whole life because your brain grew up thinking like that. It's the same with, and how do I explain that? The same way I say it's easier to learn a language when you're a kid than when you're an adult because your brain isn't developing anymore. You reach the point of growing ends and now your body's dying. And after you reach that point, everything gets harder. The first 20 years is the most important. You've got to learn as much as you can and do as much as you can. And then when you hit 20, that's when you start being as physically active as you can. You learn maths for 5 years only to realize calculators can do what you do, but faster. True! That's very true. It's very, but it's not about being able to do it fast. It's about being able to do it.
And this video is basically in the style of every other video essayist on YouTube. It's just I tend to go to the beach a bit more often. If someone set up an AI to generate YouTube videos, or even YouTube educational videos as a genre, I think I'd be fine with that. I don't think I'd have a problem with my work being a small part of a massive pool of training data.
Yeah.
But if someone started ripping off specifically my name and my work, yeah, I can see why artists are furious about that. The British legal term for it is passing off. I've said before, please don't train models on what I make, or frankly on anyone specific without their consent. But okay, I wasn't worried about being replaced, and I wasn't worried that
he has said something important, and it's something that I should say as well. I agree. I understand as well why people are mad. I get why coders are mad that they're going to be replaced by AI. I get why artists are mad that they spent years and years learning to draw, and then an AI program can look at their artwork and then mimic their style to make a bunch of other things. It is terrifying, and I absolutely understand why they're mad. But what people have to realize, and this is the only but that I've got for this, what they have to realize is that they can use this to their advantage. They are at the beginning of something crazy. And I'm calling this now, and I know I'm right. In the same way that the people that got into computers when they first started coming out are now billionaires, meaning the people that made Google saw where it could go. The people that made Microsoft saw where it could go. The people that made Apple saw where Apple could go at the beginning of that kind of technology. If you're out there and you're going, I'm so mad, art, blah, 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 you have to understand that if you, rather than complain, try to take advantage of it. How do you do that? Let me give you a real simple example. This is my YouTube thumbnail. You know what my YouTube thumbnail was a year ago or 2 years ago? Some text, an image pulled from the internet, or some text and my name, or I spent an hour making something that was ultimately kind of garbage, right? Use this as an assistant and use it to amplify what you're doing, because sitting there being angry at this just does nothing other than hold you back. It really, really does. Look at this the same way the creators of Microsoft, Google, and Apple looked at that technology when it was coming out. You know, be that like I've never been someone that's like wants to be a billionaire. But if you're like that, dude, figure out how to license people's art styles. You'll literally be a trillionaire by the time you're 50 if you start now at 20. Guaranteed. I'm telling you. Give me royalties for that idea. Thank you.
Actually talking to some human equivalent alien artificial intelligence. So why did I still have that feeling of dread? Artificial intelligence, text transformers and diffusion models, everything that we're currently seeing seems to be on that sigmoid curve of progress, and I don't know what point on that curve we've got to. If we're already most of the way up the curve, then cool, programmers and artists have brand new tools.
I can guarantee you we're at the beginning of it. And I can guarantee you we're at the beginning of it because at some point you'll have an AI program that isn't a text model, that understands what you're saying and then can improve itself. That's when you near halfway. And the other half you have no involvement in. It's just about trying to control it. We're at the very beginning of this. The very beginning. If you, I don't really want to Google it right now because I don't know if I've got safe search turned on and all that, and I don't know how to turn it on. If you have a look at what an AI picture of a cat looked like a year ago, you'd scream with laughter. It's a stick figure. It was a stick figure. If you look at an AI cat now, dude, you can do it in any style you want, from any angle you want, in any, you could have it print up right now as a Blender model and then import it into Blender. You could have it be a cute little cat and then print it out as a sticker, like ready to go as a sticker. Cut out the white, it's a sticker, good to go. It's crazy. So we're at the beginning for sure. I can guarantee it.
But they can't create something at a human level with them. It's not going to take many jobs. It's going to make people's work more efficient, the same way that loads of inventions like Photoshop.
That's not true. I can tell you for a fact that's not true. It's going to take thousands. It's going to take hundreds of thousands of jobs. How do I know this? Really simple. Really, really simple way of explaining it. When we started replacing cashiers in supermarkets with automated checkouts, how many tills are now manned in your local supermarket? Me personally, I got like a Tesco and an Asda not far from here. In the Tesco, there's about 15 checkouts. I've never seen more than 6 manned, ever. And then there's one person on the self-checkouts manning 12 self-checkout machines. And then beside the 12 self-checkout machines, there's 6 more checkout machines that you can just scan the stuff as you go. You just scan the barcode and go. No, this will take thousands of jobs. Because now, one person, rather than having 8 people make 1 image each over the course of a day, you can have one person generate 8 images an hour. This will replace photographers. This will replace so many people. Now, there will be a place for niche. In the same way that 10 years from now, you probably won't really have people taking manual driver's licenses anymore because electric cars are not manual, they're all automatic. So what's the point in getting a manual driving license? Electric cars are going to be replacing everything, right? There will be niche people that still want to drive a manual gas car, but that's not going to be the majority. It will where was I going with that? I can't remember. Long story short, it will replace thousands of jobs. If a business can make more money by firing people, they will do it. 100%.
Have done before. If we're at the middle of that curve, then wow, we are going to get some really impressive new tools very soon that still need some humans to work them. Maybe.
Yeah, okay. I don't think that's what the middle of the curve is. I think that's maybe a quarter of the way up the curve, if I had to guess.
Siri and the Google Assistant are going to become the things that they were always.
We're still at the point where it's not that easy to use these programs. For example, if I want to use Invoke AI to make artwork of me like this, then I need to know how to use GitHub. I need to know how to install these programs, understand how to use a computer, install these prerequisites. As much as we like to think that everyone knows how to use a computer now, there are plenty of 20 and 30-year-olds that grew up messing around in school and have got no idea how to really use a computer. Yeah, they can use their phone, but using a computer is still difficult. There's still, and if you don't believe me, think about all your mates. How many of them own computers versus how many of them own consoles to play games? The vast majority of people still buy consoles because it's easier and they don't have to faff around with a computer. Steam can be difficult, etc., etc. People find this stuff difficult. But I do think we're maybe in the first quarter here. Halfway up is when anyone can use these programs. When I say anyone, I mean you can jump on your phone and use them. Yes, you can use Midjourney to generate AI art through Discord on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer, on your whatever. But it is still difficult to figure out how to do it. What words do you use? It's not as intuitive as it could be. In the same way that you can be a complete moron and then just tell your phone to open Facebook for you without even knowing how to press the buttons. And if you say the something, okay, it will open up that app for you. You can be brain dead and use most apps now. It's nowhere near that for AI art yet. And it's definitely not there for AI video because that's still being developed. Though Facebook/Meta has a great video AI program coming out soon.
It's promised to be. But that feeling of dread came from the idea that ChatGPT and the new AI art systems might be to my world what Napster was to the late 90s, the herald.
I think it's going to be so much bigger than that. You don't want to be a billionaire. How else are you going to be an IRL vigilante? Listen, I don't need to be a billionaire in order to be a super, okay? I don't need that. It'd be nice. Self-checkout says, oh, it does. Images will be the new $10 art photography. Old school will become a $5,000 per wedding photo. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's a good point, Breathrius. At some point, old school things may become, well, it depends. Getting a wedding photographer might get more expensive when no one really knows how to use a camera. But then when you look at the photos that like the new Pixel is taking, the older Pixel is taking, Samsung phones and Apple phones are taking, they're incredible. They're absolutely incredible. And if you can then take, if I can go to someone's wedding with my older, like I've got a Galaxy Note 10 Plus, the bigger one. If I take that and then I take a bunch of photos and then I can throw them into an AI art program and I can get them to, whatchamacallit, I can put the photos into an AI program and it will amplify them in a way to make them look better. My phone doesn't have a good depth of field, so it adds the depth of field. My phone doesn't, it didn't capture the sparkles in the air, so it puts like you could amplify the photos and make them look better than what a photographer could do, because you can do anything with the AI art. So who knows? Maybe it becomes more expensive, maybe it doesn't. I missed most of that. I had a commercial. By the way, I did explain the new ad system on Twitch that I've got installed in place. Basically, once an hour, it's a 30-second ad, it plays automatically, and it's to get rid of pre-roll ads, and there's nothing else I can do to get rid of pre-roll ads. It's not me that's clicking the button while I'm talking, just letting you know.
The first big warning that this new technology, the thing that was going to change everything, was starting to actually change everything, where huge numbers of people, not just the nerds, were actively using it. And it didn't matter that Napster got sued out of existence, because by then there was Morpheus and Grokster and LimeWire and Kazaa.
LimeWire! I mean, LimeWire was terrible. I would never. I'm not complaining. Oh, I didn't think you were complaining. I was just explaining. Didn't want you to think that I was like being sneaky and I was like, hey, Breathrius, I'm going to respond to you. And then I'm clicking an ad button so you can't hear. And then you're sitting there going, I'm going to have to sub in order to make sure that this doesn't keep happening. Just wanted you to know it was an automatic thing.
There was Spotify, the old business model, that idea that you...
I have a very cynical brain. So when I see someone say something, my brain goes, they might think you're the bad guy. Explain yourself. I really need to work on it.
Copy of music had been struck a mortal blow. And no one noticed it for a while. If you hear echoes of the Napster case in the lawsuits against AI art programs, so do I. I was getting a haircut the other week, and unprompted, the barber started talking about ChatGPT and how he'd actually used it to write a formal email that he couldn't be bothered to put together himself. He wasn't a particularly technical person, he wasn't a nerd like me, but he'd used it easily, the same way that someone who wanted to get a load of music for free would figure out Napster. Mm-hmm. It's not about ChatGPT, not specifically. It's about what it represents. Because if we're still at the start of the curve for AI, if we're at the Napster point, then everything is about to change just as fast and just as strangely as it did in the early 2000s, perhaps beyond all recognition. And this time I'm on the wrong end of it. I'm like the music executive back in '99. It feels to me like something might have just gone very wrong for the now comfortable world that I grew up with and that I've settled down in. That's where the dread came from.
He's
the worry
reading
that suddenly,
it right.
I don't know what comes next. No one does. I've been complaining for years.
I know exactly what... Everyone's going to say, oh, I don't know. I know exactly what the next steps are and what's going to happen. It's real simple. People start to get fired. New uni and college courses come out that help you to interact with AI and use it as an assistant. That won't happen for 10 years because colleges and universities and schools are always 10 to 20 years behind. By that point, you've got a new generation of people that can't get a job because AI has taken over in terms of, getting emails done. You'll have AI like chat representatives that will speak back to you, and it'll be very difficult to tell whether or not they're a real person or an AI. You'll have more people not being able to work, and eventually we'll get to the point where things are so bad that massive reforms across the entire planet, barring third world countries, will have to be done in order to make sure that people are given a living, like a universal credit in order to survive, because jobs will be optional at that point. That's guaranteed the way this is going. There's no way that, like, the amount of jobs that this will take over, and I cannot emphasize how many jobs it's going to take over. You look at how many jobs were lost when self-checkouts were put into supermarkets. That's only impacted supermarkets, and only the big ones, because the smaller ones, like the little corner shops, the reason that you don't have a self-checkout in there is that people steal from them. It's more difficult to set up the security for there, right? And also because, well, it's cheaper to have a person in there than it is to have a robot. But there was a video that came out the other day talking about how McDonald's is installing burger flippers. Like they'll make burgers, make chips, make different foods, and then it's just the person carrying it out to the front. We're already getting to that point. 10 years from now, when, let's say I want to book an appointment for a haircut, I won't book it. I'll open up my phone and go, ChatGPT, book an appointment for my hairdresser at 6 p.m. on Friday. And it'll go, your hairdresser's closed at 6. It's open at 5:30. It's open till 5:30. There's an appointment at 4:15. Do you want that? You'll go, yeah. Okay. So I don't need to phone up. I don't need to speak to a person that works there, which means I don't need a receptionist. Then you take that realization and you apply it to everything. Something wrong with your TV? You talk to a robot. Something wrong with your phone? You talk to a robot. Or you get your robot to talk to the robots. It eliminates so many small jobs that you've never even thought about. So many small jobs that you've never even thought about. Like, it's the amount of jobs that even in the entertainment industry. Let me show you how many jobs this eliminates, because you don't understand if you don't get what I'm saying. Okay, this is Asmongold watching this because I don't know where a clip is. Oh, this one here, okay? This is not Asmongold. This is an AI Asmongold.
What character would you totally smash and why?
That's a tough one, dude. I mean, obviously I'd have to go with my main character from way back, my Hunter Asmongold. But I would also totally go for Tyrande Whisperwind for sure.
Dang himself.
She's definitely got that whole elf vibe going for her, and I'm a sucker for a good elf girl. Plus, she has that amazing eye.
This is an AI using video clips and animating the mouth. No, it doesn't look great, but this is the beginning of this. So, and the response is AI generated as well, based on things that he would say. That is the thing that I'm saying, dude. If it can put TV hosts out of business, which it could, imagine how many jobs it's going to take over. You don't need to hire a composer for your TV show anymore, because you can get an AI to generate the music. You don't need to hire a songwriter to write your songs for you, because an AI can write the songs for you based on what's trending, what's popular, and what songs have sold the most over the course, or made the most from the streaming services over the course of the last year. You don't have to hire a script writer or you don't have to hire someone to write the magazines you read. Like, I read Edge magazine. It's a magazine on gaming. You don't have to hire someone to write the pieces for Edge magazine. An AI can write them. It can tell you what games are popular right now, where they're popular, why they're popular, the demographics of the people that are playing those games, what the game is about, how it plays, the difficulty curve, the average time that it takes for that game to be completed, and it can write all that in less than 2 minutes. It's what AI can do already, like right now, is crazy. And that's what we can do for free now. Imagine what you can do for a paid service that's still being developed right now. Imagine. AI Joe Rogan is a thing. Wouldn't surprise me if AI had been if Joe Rogan was AI this whole time. So demand for programmers and engineers be at an all-time high? No, be at an all-time low. Here's how you know it will be at an all-time low. For engineers, sure. It's until robots can build robots and until robots can design robots, sure, there'll be a high demand for them. But at a certain point, you don't need people. That's the goal of not to get political, that's the goal of capitalism. More money. And more money means less people to make the thing, but more people that will buy it, right? But that is the goal. For programmers, there'll be fewer programmers in 10 years than there are right now, guaranteed. Because why would you need them? The reason you need a programmer is that they've got loads of code to write and loads of code to fix, right? If you've got an AI program that can tell you what's wrong with your code right now, and then fix it right now, and you can have one programmer sitting there going, looks all right, let's test it, bing, working. Next one. You've saved an hour. Like, not only can that person do more than 5 people can in an hour, they can do more than 10 people can do in an hour. It's incredible and terrifying what it's going to do to the planet. And so many people don't understand. Like, let me give a really, really easy example right now. Okay? And we've more or less finished the video. And this is going to be a real long video on YouTube. And if you're watching in the future on YouTube, I hope you're enjoying the conversation. Feel free to contribute and ask questions or say things if you want. Tell me what you think. Like the video. But know that if your comment is negative rather than constructive, that shit's getting deleted before I've read past the first line. Here's an example of how many jobs AI can get rid of. And I'm going to be as clear as I can. I am a super, but also a streamer. Let's play some music. I need wallpapers for my background. I need thumbnails. Did my audio just die? It did. I need thumbnails for my videos on YouTube. I would like thumbnails for my videos on Twitch. I would like artwork for my backgrounds. I'd like supersuit designs. I would like a new emblem for me. Emblems for Kit. I would like, what other art assets do I want? I'd also like to animate the background of these images. I would like hyper-realistic portraits. I would like posters. I would like a comic book or a graphic novel as well. Almost every single, so let's figure out how many jobs that is. Graphic novel. I need an artist, which means I need someone to draw it. I need someone to ink it. I need someone to write it. And then I need possibly someone to then help me upload that or publish it onto Amazon, which you can do yourself. I can get ChatGPT to help me publish it for free. I can myself sit here and get Invoke AI or Midjourney to make the comic for me, like make all the artwork. I can get ChatGPT to write the comic book for me. That's 3 or 4 jobs that I would have paid someone to do in the far off future. And let's be clear with that as well. To get the money to do those things, if I streamed 2 days a week for the next 4 or 5 years, I might have enough money at the end of it. If things went really well, maybe a couple years, right? I can do that now, today, and have the comic book ready to go by the end of the week. It's Tuesday. But that's 3 to 4 jobs gone. Oh, YouTube thumbnail designer. There are people that just do that. 5 jobs. Animate the background images. 6 jobs. 6? 7? I've lost count. 6 or 7 jobs. Someone to animate these backgrounds. 6 or 7 done. And I can make the artwork. That image there, I could make that in 10 minutes. I could, if I was going really quick and I messed around with everything that I was doing, I could probably generate that image straight away in the course of 30 seconds. So that's how many jobs that this can take right now. Now you can make the argument, well, you couldn't afford to do all that right now, so no jobs are really being taken. Sure. But that's the good part of this, that it allows anyone with any level of creativity, any goals, any dreams that involve writing, art, or really anything creative, coding, whatever. It allows them to make that now. It opens up the gate for so many people like that. And that's the beauty of it, dude. That's the beauty of it. There's a little UFO there. That looks like a little UFO. I never even saw that before.
Is that it feels like nothing has really changed since smartphones came along. And I think that maybe, I should have been careful what I wished for. At some point, I'll look back on this video and with hindsight, I will easily be able to see where we were on the curve. We all will. Part of me hopes that I am entirely wrong, that in a few years, I'll still be working like this. The email thing is a metaphor, of course. It won't be email folders for you. It might be something else, something you're attached to, maybe something minor, or maybe the whole industry you work in. But right now, that feeling, that creeping horror, that dread, it turns out that was the worry that after years of being fairly steady and comfortable, my world is about to change. And despite everything, I will still want my email to be in folders.
That was a good video, man. That was Tom Scott. I tried using AI. It scared me. He's, pardon me, he's on the ball with almost everything he's saying. I do think I know where we are. Same with music. Yeah, by the way, Philip, yes. Music, you can already generate AI music. I don't think it's very good, but you can already generate music. We had a good run. Time to make space for the robot overlords. Well, listen, as long as we're nice to them, I'm sure we'll be fine. I do think that it's gonna revolutionize people's creativity, but there's gonna be a really difficult time coming soon. So stop fighting against AI, in my opinion, and start figuring out how to work with it, because you could be the next Google, Microsoft, Apple, man. I'm sure I'm sure when people were working or were starting Microsoft, they were sitting there thinking, man, how do I even compete with these radio companies, dude? These radio companies and these, the TV teletext. No one's going to want internet because we've got TV teletext. No, look at AI the same way that Microsoft and Google and Apple looked at teletext and radio and TV and understood and texts and sending letters. It's here to stay. You've got to learn to work with it, because otherwise you're going to be bitter and poor with no job, struggling. You've got to improvise, adapt, and overcome, dude. I'm telling you. Go like Tom Scott's video, and if you're watching on YouTube, like this video too. Thank you. Catch you later.